My mother battled obesity for years, and so did I, for that matter. But what really made it come to a head was my mother had had congestive heart failure. We had to put in a rehabilitation center. And at that time, I was telling my mom, I was like, "Mom, look, you're gonna get past this." And I was writing her these notes, these motivational notes about how we're going to change her lifestyle and how things are going to be better once you get out of this rehabilitation center. Well, Linda, during that time, I also had a health scare. So I told my mom about that, and I said, we're going to do this together. But in April of 2014, my last good conversation with me, she told me, Jonathan, this is not going to help me. My body is winning this battle. Please continue to fight, but I'm no longer be able to do this. And a couple months later, she passed away from complications due to obesity. And at that time, when I asked myself the question, what is it about us as human beings, including myself, my mother, that is so hard for us to change our lifestyle, even when we know it'll save our lives?
Welcome to Linda's Corner, where we bring more hope, healing, and happiness to the world. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about beating obesity. I'm delighted to welcome Jonathan Boulware. Jonathan is a behavioral change specialist, certified personal trainer, author, health coach, and the founder of You Take Control of It. You can reach Jonathan at his website, youcanbeatobesity.com, and I'll include that link in the show notes. Welcome, Jonathan. I'm so glad that you could join with me today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Linda. It was truly a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
And thank you. I'm so excited for the information that you're going to be sharing with us today, because being overweight has different levels, and none of them are really good for us. But if we're severely overweight, it can cause problems with every aspect of our lives. And that's something that you have experienced and that you have seen. Is it okay if we start with your story or your mom's story? Which one would you like to start with?
Absolutely. We'll start with both because they're both intertwined together. My mother battled obesity for years, and so did I, for that matter. But what really made it come to a head was in December of 2013. My mother had had congestive heart failure, so she'd been on blood thinners. But around that time, she also got a wound, and a wound that we thought was going to heal, but it wasn't healing. So in February of 2014, we had to put in a rehabilitation center. And at that time, I was telling my mom, I was like, Mom, look, you're gonna get past this. And I was writing her these notes, these motivational notes about how we're going to change her lifestyle and how things are going to be better once you get out of this rehabilitation center. Well, Linda, during that time, I also had a health scare where I was sitting in my office and I felt this tingling sensation from the left side of my body go from my foot all the way up to the left side of my face. And I ran to the bathroom, threw water on my face, and I was fine physically because I went to the doctors afterwards. They could not find anything physically wrong with me. But mentally, I was a wreck. So I told my mom about that, and I said, we're going to do this together. But in April of 2014, my last good conversation with me, she told me, Jonathan, this is not going to help me. My body is winning this battle. Please continue to fight, but I'm no longer be able to do this. And a couple months later, she passed away, and from complications due to obesity. She just couldn't overcome the bacteria from the wound. And at that time, when I asked myself the question, I was asking it all along, but what is it about us as human beings, including myself, my mother, that is so hard for us to change our lifestyle, even when we know it'll save our lives? And that became the passion that drove me to become a certified trainer, health coach, behavior change specialist, because I wanted the answer to that question for myself, because I had a young daughter and my wife, and I wanted to take care of my family, but just for my friends and family as well too. And that's what set me out on the journey. And that was back in 2014.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry, that would be so painful to see your mom struggling.
Yes.
And it sounds like she just passed on a legacy to you. You are finishing something that almost you started together, where we want a different experience. And why is it so hard? Why is it so hard when, even though we know that it would be better for us? I mean, it's not just the knowledge, it's the application. And I
Yes.
heard it recently said that we prefer a familiar hell than an unfamiliar heaven. And there's something about that that we just stay entrenched. So,
Yes.
from your research, what did you discover? What helps you to be able to get past that fear of the unfamiliar?
Well, first, I mean, that was a great quote you just said. And I think I can relate to that 100% because obesity, um, you would think it would be something about motivation and willpower to say, look, you have a beautiful daughter, you have a wonderful life ahead of you if you can just lose this weight. So why would it be that hard? And so I started beating myself up because I thought it was willpower and a lack of discipline, a lack of motivation. I realized it had nothing to do with that. And so in all of my research, what I've realized is that lifestyle behavior change is tough because of two basic reasons. The first reason is that 50 anywhere studies have shown that anywhere from 50 and so I've seen as high as 70% of your behavior is driven by automatic habits. So things that you have already pre-wired in your brain that is going to happen when this trigger happens. So when trigger happens, I'm going to do this, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're doing it. And so when that neural pathway is so strong in your brain, it guides your behavior without you even knowing it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is even when you realize that, hey, I have this habit, I want to break this habit, it still requires a change in who you are as a person in order to attack that habit. So let me give you an example. One of the habits that I had was that one I would look in the mirror and I would focus on myself physically. And as a result of that, I would get into this mental spiral of just discouragement, get angry with myself, and just frustrated, and it would just really characterize my entire day. So I wanted to change that habit. I realized that I was doing that. I wanted to change that habit. But the first thing that had to happen was I had to change my personal culture, meaning my why, the reasons as to why I wanted to change, and be able to combine that with focusing on my habit in order to be able to change my behavior. So it's one, recognizing the habits that are driving your behavior, but it's two is coming up with a plan in order to be able to attack those habits. Because when adversity strikes, it's much easier to do the familiar thing than the new thing that you're trying to in order to change your life.
Thank you for sharing that. That is so important. And when you're talking about this, our automatic programming, it sounds like what you're suggesting, or at least what I'm hearing, is we need to get our unconscious programming, those triggers, what we're doing that we aren't aware of, and become aware of them. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, yes, two things. One, I am definitely suggesting that those automatic triggers, the behaviors that you're not aware of, like you just said, that you do become aware. And the second thing is a lot of times, sometimes you're aware that you should not be making this decision. It's not that it's automatic. So a trigger happens. I'm stressed. I know I should not eat this particular food, but you look for reasons as to justify your behavior. You look for reasons to feel good as to why you're making this decision. And then you make a decision that you're conscious that you're making. However, you find a way to justify to feel good. And I did that all the time as far as I know I shouldn't eat this food. And I would say, well, I'm going to work out Monday. Um, I've been good all day today. I deserve this. I would find ways to make myself feel good about my decision. So yes, for automatic habits identified, but also it's really important to understand your behaviors and what I call justification habits. The reason allowing yourself to feel good about a decision that you know you shouldn't be making.
Wow. Okay, so that's huge. So first become aware, but even when we are aware, we naturally justify ourselves. It's like, but I want to do this.
That's right. That's right.
And because I want to do this, I'm going to find a reason that it is okay so that I can go ahead and move forward. I would say without guilt, but I don't think it really is without guilt. I think it's just giving ourselves permission.
It's giving ourselves permission, and for me, there's always guilt at the end. Because one thing about the habit is a trigger, then there's a response, and there's a reward. And the reward could be, hey, I'm feeling better, I'm not as stressed, I'm relaxed, or whatever your reward is. And that's what you're chasing, is when you're engaged in that response to the trigger, that's triggering your behavior, you're chasing that reward. So whatever that reward is that makes you feel good, that's the reason why you're justifying your behavior.
We want to feel good. We
Yes.
all want to feel good.
Yeah,
That's really the motivation.
it is a motivation.
And I want to feel good now.
Yes.
And that's tricky
Yes,
because if I have that reward immediately, it is I, I'm enjoying it now.
that's right.
Whereas if I have a delayed reward, if I have to wait for it, I'm not sure I'm even going to get what I want.
That is such a great point, Linda. It's an awesome point. And that's the reason why it's very hard for people to lose weight because when you step on the scale, I've been working out for 3 days. I've been eating right for 3 days. I want to see weight loss now. And when you don't see it, and then your mind just spirals into this, oh my God, I'm frustrated. I'm angry with myself. Why didn't this happen? And then you just go back to that comfortable feeling of, okay, this is what's going to make me deal with this disappointment, make me feel good now.
Wow. So a big part of getting the results is that patience and trust that if I don't get it right now, I can still trust that it is coming.
Yes, and I'll add two things to that. Um, Dealing with obesity and the mental side of it is self-forgiveness. Forgive yourself for the decision. And then self-compassion. Have compassion for, in addition to patience, have compassion for you, for the fact that you're human, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have setbacks, and that's okay. And just to really look for the positive things that you're doing in your life. And so forgive yourself and show yourself some self-compassion. And those things go a long ways when you're trying to change your behavior.
That is so amazing. And isn't it fascinating that self-love, self-compassion, that self-forgiveness is able to help us stand strong more than the justification, which is really trying to make me feel better. One
Right.
is feel better, and the other is feel better, but they're different. One is loving me, and maybe the other one is more on my actions. Is it who I am versus what I do almost?
Yeah, I would say who I am. Well, when I was doing self-forgiveness, it was more about who I am because I felt like I'm this person that my low point, that's not a good father, that's not a good husband because I looked at myself and I was worried about some sort of health episode where I wouldn't be there for my daughter and she was very young. So it was for me, it was who I am and I was disappointed with who I was. So I had to go back and say, no, you're a good person. Don't look at yourself that way. Use positive affirmations. Look at the superpowers that you have right now to build up my self-esteem. And then once I started down that path, because you wouldn't tell your best friend who was struggling, hey, best friend, you're a loser. Why are you even trying? I know you're frustrated. You deserve to be frustrated. You would never say those things to your best friend. So why say them to you, to the person that's going to be with you everywhere you go, everything you do, you are you. And so once I started to realize that and try to be kinder to myself, who I was as a person, it was much easier for me than to see the habits that I was doing and forgiving myself if I made a mistake and set accountability measures. And so it was a lot easier for me to move forward once I uh, was self-forgiving, self-love, and that became my focus.
I love that. And you mentioned earlier that you could look in the mirror and what you would see was your physical self.
Yes,
And that image stuck with me because when we look in the mirror, we do see our physical self. That is what the mirror is showing. And yet, when we're looking at ourselves, we need to look deeper beyond that physical self. I am a good person.
yes,
I am lovable. I
yes,
am worthy. And it seems like if we can get past just what appears to be to what we really are, then the next step can take place. Isn't that fascinating that when we really get it from the inside, I am worthy. I am worthy of a slender, healthy body.
yes,
And because I am, then I can have it.
yes.
It
And
doesn't go the other way around, where it's if I could ever get a slender, healthy body, then I would become worthy and lovable.
yes, and that is such a great point. Because if you chase the outcome first and say, well, the outcome is what's going to make me happy, then it's going to be very difficult because there's just so many obstacles that get in the way. But if you enjoy the journey, you enjoy who you are now, and you enjoy looking in the mirror and just using those positive affirmations, which take hold after a while. So anyone, the audience is listening to this, it's hard to imagine that just by looking in the mirror and saying, you are worthy. Don't worry about this. Let's go. You got this. That works, but it does. If you do it over and over again, just like if you tell yourself something negative, that seems to take hold. Tell yourself something positive, that will take hold as well too. So take it from somebody that was a beast for many years. That was something that I practiced every day.
Isn't that beautiful? It's almost like if we can release some of this mental and emotional burden, we can
Yes,
also release the weight.
yes, yes, yes.
They work together.
Well,
Oh,
where it really shows up too is when you start to eat right, you start to exercise, and you don't focus so much on the scale and the results, but you focus on the path that you're on, and that you are making steps forward, and that you're doing positive things. Those things have a wonderful impact on your mindset, and then you start to enjoy actually the journey. You start to enjoy even when you have setbacks. I'm gonna get past this. Your everything starts to change. You just have to get yourself going in that direction.
oh, I love that. And I'm glad that you brought back once again, we got to do something. We have to do something different. This is a
Yes,
lifestyle change, not just a mindset change.
that's right.
It takes both.
It does take both.
So, is it okay? Can you walk us through the five main components for lifestyle behavioral change?
Yeah, sure. So, I before I do that, I want to explain where this a little bit where this came from. So, when I would go to the doctor would say, "Jonathan, you need to lose weight. You need to um, get on a diet and start exercising." But what they didn't answer for me, it wasn't their job to answer. The doctor wouldn't say, "Well, doc," when I say, "Well, I'm frustrated or I'm angry with myself, and I don't know what to do first. I have no idea of how I'm going to overcome my mental obstacles in order to do the things you're asking me to do." That is the answer. That is what led me to really start going down this path. So I said, well, I need to build a foundation. What are the things that I'm going to do? Because I know if I start getting on the treadmill or if I go to the gym, it's not going to last. So where do I start? So the first thing I start with is you have to know that you have a problem to solve. You have to know because you're never going to change your behavior if you don't realize that you have a problem to solve. And that sounds simple, but if you talk to a lot of people, they may not realize that I have this problem solved. No, I'm okay. It's fine. And I was there for a while when I was having health issues. But once I identified a problem solved, that's the first thing. Second thing is you have to know exactly what the problem is. I mean,
Ooh.
because a lot of times we, well, this is my problem is this A. No, your problem really is B. So in my case, my exact problem was when I got, and it you typically happened after I got back from work. I was looking for a way to relax. I did not have anything in my home that I could prepare. And I immediately started searching for that justification of here's the reason why it's okay to pull into that fast food and get that fast food. And so that was my problem. My problem wasn't work. My problem wasn't stress. That was my problem. So then I could focus on the exact problem. The third step is to know your why. Your why is probably one of the most important things you could ever have in your life. It's not a goal. It's not a stated reason. It is your heart and soul as to why you want to be this different person. Why do you want this? For me, it was my daughter. I want to be for my daughter when she is older, when she needs her father. I want to be a part of her life. It is your emotional attachment as to why you want to change. And the reason why that is so critical is when you face adversity and you face obstacles, your why is going to be there saying, Jonathan, you can do this. Stop. This is the reason why you're doing this. It just gives you that mental boost that you need to keep going forward in those moments. And then the last two is one, you have to want to change. You have to, because if you don't want to change your lifestyle, then nothing's ever going to change. And the fifth one is you have to believe that you can. Now,
Oh,
now the fifth one is a little tough. And the reason why is this is because if you've been on your journey for years and you've tried to lose weight and you're you're not going to wake up one day and say, okay, 100% I can believe I can do this. But what I ask is rather than believe 100%, just leave 10%. Just leave a little bit open that, okay, I'm going to try this. I know I can do this time. Just leave a little bit. And as you go on your journey, I promise you, your confidence will grow, your self-esteem will grow, your self-love will grow, and you will have fun on this journey. And you'll start with a little bit. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and then it'll grow. But those are the 5 things that you have to have in order to change your lifestyle.
That is beautiful and amazing. Oh, I love it so much. I have a mental image that I try to share, and that is, well, that in order to change, we have to want to change more than we want to stay the same.
That is beautiful. Yes.
It's
Yes,
like if you can imagine a balancing kind of a teeter-totter sort of a thing or a seesaw. We all want change,
we do.
and we all want to stay the same.
Yes.
And change will not take place until we want to change more than we want to stay the same. And your beautiful 5-step method of tipping that scale toward, do I want to change more than I want to stay the same?
Hmm.
And then first is to know that I have a problem. I don't want to change if I don't think that there's a reason to change. I'm just
That's
going to
exactly
stay
right.
the same.
Hmm.
Step two, I need to identify the problem so that I can solve that particular problem. And the third part is the why. That's a wonderful way to help tip that scale of wanting
Absolutely.
to change more than I want to stay the same. I do want to stay the same, but I love my daughter
Yes.
more than that desire to stay the same. She's worth it, and I can tip that scale. And then the wanting, and then the believing you can. And I love that you said, gosh, we don't need 100%. Can you just open the door of possibility?
That's right.
And again, with that image of having a seesaw, a teeter-totter, I don't need to be 100%. I've got to be 51%. I've got to
Hmm.
be beyond, just so that I want to change more than I want to stay the same. And then it can tip more
Hmm.
and tip more. But gosh, we've got to have a starting point.
That's right.
That was beautiful, and it feels doable. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. The other part I want to thank you, Linda. The other part, the reason why it's doable too, is because you're not starting. You start from where you are, meaning that you're not going to wake up and say, "All right, I'm going to 5 in the morning. I'm going to start making 4 healthy meals and throughout the day, and I'm going to work out twice a day, whatever the case may be." You start from where you are. Start from, hey, this is where I am. This is who I am in this person. I also have these things where you do a mental check-in. Where are you at mentally right now? What are some of the challenges that you face that you really need to address along your journey? And the other part is a physical check-in, meaning that you don't know how healthy or unhealthy you are until you go to the doctor and you get your lab work and they look inside your body and say, okay, here are the things you need to focus on. Are you pre-diabetic? Do you have high blood pressure? Where is your cholesterol? All those markers are really important to understand because look, you could be okay. You could say, look, your doctor could say, here's where you are now. Start moving in this direction and you'll be fine. Or, hey, here's a warning sign. Let's start focusing on this. So I encourage my clients, you've got to know what your starting point is. And then once you know what your starting point is, it's much easier to be successful than not knowing your starting point and putting these unrealistic expectations on yourself.
Right. And then if you have some data, you can recognize some successes because you
That's
can.
right.
Is this part of the 4-3-2 playbook?
It is the 4-3-2 playbook. I'll go briefly what that is. Again, when I would leave the doctor, didn't know what my biggest thing was I didn't know, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so the 4-3 playbook gave me a roadmap as to how I wanted to change my lifestyle behavior. So a lot of people say, well, where do you set your goals? Well, I said, well, there's 4 categories where you set your goals is moving your body, eat to live a healthy life, build your mental resolve, and be organized. Those, if you set your goals in those 4 categories, then you're on your path to change your lifestyle behavior. So I give people 4 categories to set their goals, and the three is for 3 months, meaning that give yourself, don't expect immediate results. However you define results, don't expect them today, tomorrow. Give yourself 3 months. Put that patience hat on. Because patience is a powerful, powerful asset if you use it the right way. So give yourself 3 months. That way, you're not to have an expectation next morning that you're the changed person. And then the two is for 2 weeks. I mean that every 2 weeks we're going to look at your progress, and we're going to measure progress a little differently. So progress doesn't mean I've lost 5 pounds. Progress can mean that I actually gained, but my attitude, I did not give up on myself. I forgave myself. That's wonderful progress. So we're going to look at your goals in these 4 categories. We're going to give yourself 3 months. After 3 months, we're going to do a check-in, and you're going to revisit your progress every 2 weeks. And that's where so that was just a process by which, a program by which I wanted to give people myself. It started with me initially, but I want to give people a direction to follow.
I love that. Okay, I'm going to go back and repeat that, and then you can help me fill in any blanks
Sure,
that I've
sure,
missed.
sure.
So we have four, we have three, we have two. The four is the four categories that we're going to set our goals in.
Yes,
And some of them seemed obvious, and one of them was kind of surprising to me. And yet it's obvious when I think about it. The We got to move our bodies.
right.
We need to eat right. We're working on our mental our attitude. And then the fourth one that kind of surprised me was the organization. And yet the funny thing is, no goals work unless we organize it, right?
That's right.
Are we
That's right.
talking for organization something like maybe I need to fit it in my schedule? I need to put it at a certain time for a certain, is that what we're talking about for organizing?
That's part of it. Yes, that's a specific target, but really for organizing, because a lot of people will say, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time to do this. But if you're organized in your daily life, meaning that when you've already done your grocery shop and you have your clothes ready to go, or however you define organization, you find so much time to do the things of, I want to walk for 15 minutes. I want to do 20 minutes. So if you're not organized, then it's very hard to then, well, it's very easy to say, I don't have time. So find something that you can do right now that you spend 20 minutes wasting your time that you can do right now to where you just pick up 20 minutes like that. And that 20 minutes could be going on a walk or going to the store to pick up something healthy, whatever it is. Find those times by organizing your life. So set small goals of how you're going to get organized.
Okay, that was huge. Mind blown. Now we're not just talking about our weight. If I can organize my life, organize my time, that is going to affect every aspect of my very being
It
and
is.
increase my happiness.
It
So
is.
I think for a lot of people, we have lost, say, 20 minutes on things that we didn't even pay attention to,
That's
like
right.
scrolling on our phones,
That's right.
or I think that's a big one, or just messing with the computer or getting caught on social media. A lot of it is screen time, I believe. Um, but there probably is 20 minutes that we can reclaim by becoming aware of where that time is going and by getting organized. That was awesome.
Like I've had clients that have found hours in a day, not every day, but hours in a day of just once they really focus on their behavior and the things that they choose to do that they don't have to necessarily do. Now, sometimes if you want to scroll, it's like, I'm spending 30 minutes. I just want to sit on the couch and scroll. Um, but people have found that time. And so now they realize that they have time and the positive feelings that come to realize that you have time to change your life is huge because a lot of times people don't realize think they can change their lifestyle because where am I going to find the time between the kids, the job, the preparing for the meals or whatever they have to do in their lives. They don't really think they have enough time. But once you know you have time, then the motivation really is there. I mean, your positive feelings start to kick in.
Okay, you have said many wonderful things during this conversation, but that golden nugget by itself is enough to just change everything. You have time to change your life.
You do.
That is huge. So you're suggesting not only do we have the time, but we have the power to change our lives. This is all coming together. That means that it's empowering. It means I can.
Yes. 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 When you
That's
feel
big.
like when you feel empowered, when you feel like you can take control of your health and it's not anybody else's choice or you feel like someone's blocking you, if when you feel like I'm in total control of this, I have total control. It's not the complete answer, but it's a huge answer to get you going in the right step. So all of these assets, what I call them, that you build help you change your lifestyles. Usually it's not one silver bullet, it's all these different silver bullets you put together. And then after a while, they just become second nature. I mean, you don't even have to think about them. They're just a part of your life and who you are. And that's what happened with me. There's so much mental energy that went into doing this in the beginning. And then after a while, it just became who I was as a person. And it was no longer that mental energy that I needed to expend. Yeah,
So I really appreciated what you said about that it becomes second nature because change is so hard. And sometimes when we're in that, we think, oh my gosh, do I have to sustain this hardness for the rest of my life?
right.
And the answer is no.
Yeah,
Not if you can make the whole thing. So almost like if you're driving a car and you're going straight and it just feels comfortable. Your body's in the seat. You don't even notice that you're moving. And then you make a turn and you can feel it in your body as you're kind of moved. The G forces move you to the side. And if you go fast, it
yeah,
can actually be
yeah,
painful. But once you finish that U-turn and start going straight, even if it's the opposite direction, it feels just as normal, comfortable, and natural as it did going the other direction. And
absolutely.
I think we need to emphasize that because change is hard. And anyone who has made a change knows that it's hard,
It is.
but it doesn't have to stay hard.
It doesn't. As a matter of
So,
fact, I tell people you can have fun on the journey too. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be this as you like you mentioned earlier, once I get to this outcome, then I'll have these positive feelings about myself. You can start having positive feelings day one. Just one of the things I encourage people to declare your health the number one priority in your life. That it is more important than your job, your family, your kids, whatever it is, because at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, then those things aren't going to be there anyway. So you actually elevate those things in your life when you make your health the number one priority in your life. Just that action alone, when you do that and you mean it and you haven't done anything beyond that yet, you start to feel good about yourself. You start to, okay, this is okay. And then you start moving forward and forward as you go. And so yeah, I mean that's a great place. It's a wonderful place to start. Put
health
yourself
comes
first,
first.
and then you're elevating everybody else by putting yourself first. 100%.
Wow. And I love that you just said, and that elevates everyone else. It's not selfish to put yourself and your
Not at
health
all.
first.
Not at all.
It
But by
is.
putting yourself first, you are telling everybody else you are more important than me because I'm putting myself first to be there for you, to support you, to make sure as best I can, as best I can, I'm going to be there for the things that are important for you in your life by putting
Right.
your health first.
Which is part of where this kind of started, where you said, my daughter matters to me.
That's right.
And that's why I matter to me,
That's
because
right.
me being here to be a good father and to be able to take care of her and to be here for her matters because I love her.
That's right.
And so loving yourself doesn't put her down, it elevates her.
It does. It absolutely does. And
Beautiful.
that was hard for me to accept. I was like, I felt in the beginning like I was being selfish, but when I
Selfish.
realized that when I focused on my health, number one, I was actually it was one of the most unselfish acts I ever did in my entire life, because then I really started to focus on me so that I could be there for her. And then my mental state improved, my physical health improved, everything improved just by some of these little things well, they're actually big things that we talked about. But
Right.
putting my health first was one of the things, forgiving myself and showing self-compassion. All these things people don't think about when they think about lifestyle change. They just think, well, I should start eating on the Mediterranean diet and get on the treadmill and those type of things. And certainly for a physical transformation, you need to do those things. But it starts with the mental transformation, because your mind will quit long before you see any physical results if you don't start with the mindset.
Excellent point. Wow. Okay. This is amazing. Okay, so we got 4, 3, 2, and I got on 4, and I just want to talk about it because I thought it was so beautiful. So I'm just going to quickly repeat the 3 and the 2. So the 3 was 3 months, and I love that you gave a time frame so that we can have a bite-sized chunk of life, something that is manageable, something that I can see the end of from the beginning. And then when I get to the end of the 3 months, I can do another 3 months, but I'm not going to
That's
worry
right.
about that right now. Right now, I'm just going to look at this bite-sized chunk of life, something that I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is very important, I believe, when we're trying to set goals, because long-term goals that have no end can be really frustrating when we don't feel that joy and that satisfaction of some kind of progress. And progress leads to the two, which is you are doing an evaluation. And I love that your evaluation was beyond the numbers on the scale. It was, let's look at progress in all of the areas.
That's right.
How are you feeling? What's your mental state? What's your emotional state? And then if we have those wonderful physical benefits, like, hey, I do see a difference on the scale. I do see a difference when I take those measurements. That is awesome. So thank you. This has been just beautiful. Is there anything else you want to make sure we cover before we close today?
No, the only thing I would make sure to cover, this is a promise I made to my mother that anytime I had an opportunity to share my experience, I would tell people that are dealing with obesity that not to be down on yourself, to really love yourself, to really practice self-forgiveness, because obesity is more than just a physical disease. Once you have it, it truly is a disease because it can kill you physically and mentally, but to really, it can pierce every part of your life, every part of your thought process, and really just to take the steps and to not let it get there. And you can have so much joy in your life long before you get to your end goal of however you define that for yourself. You can enjoy every step of the way and just feel good about yourself long before you get there. And take it from somebody who, and on my internet, on my webpage, you can see I share all my pictures, almost all my pictures, to give people a chance so they can relate, so they can say, okay, he gets it. And so I just want to give that word of encouragement because that was just something that just characterized my life.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're
And
welcome.
in closing, I'd like to share a quote by Jane Velez Mitchell. She said, obesity affects every aspect of people's lives, from health to relationships. Today, I invite our listeners to make whatever lifestyle behavioral changes they need to help them be happier and healthier. See you next time on Linda's Corner. Thanks for tuning in to Linda's Corner podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends to help us inspire even more listeners. Be sure to visit hopeforhealingfoundation.org for free and affordable resources to help you overcome life's challenges. And explore healingbreathworkdetox.com, where you'll find transformative tools for deep inner healing and lasting change. Also, don't forget to check out my books, Crushed, A Journey Through Depression, and You Got This, an action plan to calm fear, anxiety, worry, and stress. Your journey to hope, healing, and happiness starts here.